Hello, everyone. I'm Jan Angel, your 26th District State Representative, and thank you for joining me on Legislative Update. Less than a month remains of the scheduled 105-day legislative session, and we have yet to vote on an operating budget. Both Republicans and Democrats worked out about 90% of their differences on a budget proposal. But when the Democratic chair of the House Ways and Means Committee brought the proposal to the House Speaker last Friday, it was rejected. So the chair said he was going to take a few days off to rethink his position. The Olympian called it budget paralysis, and it's brought nearly everything to a standstill here in the House. All of my committees are finished with their work. We have a stack of Senate bills to be considered. They may hinge on the budget. And we've had no floor action for more than a week. Instead, we're seeing something very unusual behind the scenes activity. For example, 22 title-only budget-related bills were introduced in the Senate. Title-only bills have no content, just a title, which acts as a placeholder for language that could be attached later. I'm very suspicious when this happens because it bypasses the public's ability to provide input on the content of the bill. 4 of the title-only bills introduced relate to the creation of revenue and taxation acts, which means they could be used to attempt a tax increase. You might remember back in Congress, they had a title-only bill on health care, and Nancy Pelosi's famous comments, and I quote, "We have to pass the bill so you can find out what's in it," end of quote. That's not the way we should be writing the budget here in Washington State. We need to have a transparent process. Earlier this year, I fought for an amendment that would have increased budget transparency. I wanted to make sure that we had 72 hours to review the budget once that it was released to the public before voting on it. This makes sure that we have time to understand what's in this document, which is the most important legislation of the session. Unfortunately, the majority party agreed to provide only a 24-hour review. So when a budget is released, we don't have much time to look through it before we have to vote on it. And that's not fair to the public. But first, we need a budget. It can be done. Difficult times demand difficult decisions to close a $5.1 billion deficit. But instead of making the difficult decisions, gimmicks are being considered to provide more revenue, such as something called the 25th month. Essentially, this is a payday loan that would free up about $1 billion. How it works is that the state writes budgets that cover 24 months. But what if you took the first month of the next budget period and included all the tax money you got during that one? Suddenly you have 25 months of money to spend. The problem comes when you write the next budget. You have only 23 months of revenue and 24 months of government operations to cover. Simply put, it's a bad idea. The last time the legislature did this was in 1973, and it took 18 years to pay the whole thing off. Let's be candid here. We don't need budget gimmicks. We need a balanced, sustainable budget that doesn't kick the can down the road any further. We need a budget written on the priorities of government, which include education, public safety, and protection of the state's most vulnerable population. We need a budget that doesn't increase taxes, doesn't use one-time money to pay for ongoing programs, a plan that seeks efficiencies and reforms, and provides a strong reserve in case we have future revenue drops or unforeseen emergencies. That's the kind of responsible budget I'm fighting for. Does this require difficult decisions? Yes, it does, but it can be done. I welcome your comments and your input. You can email me from my website. You'll see the address on your screen. Thank you again for joining me on Legislative Update, and until next week, I'm your State Representative, Jan Angel.